Good morning. This is Billy Tarasio with Modern Law Practice. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm outside. Today may sound a little ragey, a little ranty. We're going to talk about customer service and some of the recent experiences that I've had that have led to this blog. We are in the business of consumer legal services or business legal services. Unless you work for a law firm that is big and you're working on one case and your job is to process paper or type motions or analyze work, then maybe your job is to be a lawyer, to produce legal work. But if you work for a small firm or you own a small firm, you are in the business of legal services, consumer legal services, and your job is to serve your clients, to meet their goals, to meet their objectives, and to use your expertise as a lawyer to make that happen. And most of us fall short, and I've had a couple of experiences in my law firm that I'm going to share where I feel like we've fallen short, and I want to talk about how to handle that, because how you handle an upset client matters. And I wanted to talk about this a couple weeks ago, but it was pretty raw. And so when I first recorded about what happened in my law firm and showed it to a couple people, they were like, nope, can't post this yet. It's too raw. So, but before we even get there, I want to talk about an experience that I am having with a software company. So in April, I started talking to a company, Grow.com, that provides dashboards. It's a business intelligence dashboard because I wanted my key performance indicators for my law firm real time, all the time. Whenever I wanted it, I wanted to be able to go to my dashboard and have it be updated with the latest data. Because what I needed to do was have my office manager, Caitlin, pull that data, put it into a spreadsheet and show it to me. And she did that at regular intervals, but sometimes I wanted it and it wasn't at that interval. And as we were working with other law firms and providing them with those same reports, I wanted to make sure that we had the ability to get the data in real time and give it to them so that they weren't waiting either. So I started talking to this business intelligence dashboard solution. Okay, I had to come inside because it was really loud outside, but hopefully you could hear me. And I was talking to this business intelligence dashboard and I was telling them exactly what I wanted to do. So I've got these various systems and I want you to pull this data and I want you to be able to show me this report. And I wanted them to be able to pull from Infusionsoft, from Google Sheets, from Clio, from QuickBooks Online in order to get the key performance indicators that are most important to me in my law firm. And they said, absolutely, no problem, that's what we do. So I signed up, I signed a 12-month contract, I paid a $1,500 onboarding fee, and then signed up for $600 a month thereafter. It's not a small investment, but they were quite clear that they could do what I wanted them to do. And so we began the process of building out the reports. In our initial meeting, I said, here are the data points in the various software that you need to pull in order to build what I want. We worked with them over a period of months to attempt to build it, talk to Clio because we weren't really able to get the information we needed out of their API. And come July, I was banging my head up against a wall because I had paid quite a bit of money and it wasn't really working. It was sort of working. I was sort of getting information I needed. I could get intake data, but I couldn't get anything else. And that wasn't what I had intended when I signed up with Grow. So we had a call with first, when I said, hey, I'm not really happy with this, I need to talk to a manager. This isn't really working for me. I'm gonna have to go in another direction because I started researching other options that would meet my needs. The salesperson's response to me was, you signed a contract. You signed a 12-month contract and you're going to need to continue paying us. And my answer to him was, can I talk to your manager? Because I'm pretty sure, regardless of whether or not I signed a contract, if you sold me something that doesn't meet my needs, you don't really want me paying for it, being all angry. That's terrible customer service. And it took me probably 3 times of asking him if I could talk to his manager before he finally let me talk to his manager. And after a conversation, this person agreed. He didn't want us paying for software that we weren't using. That's not good for anyone. So we were going to give it one more shot. He was going to suspend the payments, and we were going to try one more time to see if we could get this software to work for us. That was in July. It didn't work. It's now October. They never suspended payments. I paid them the entire time. And when I went back to say, hey guys, you said you were going to suspend this, it's not working, I got the same answer from another salesperson or another data guy. Sorry, you signed a contract. Well, you said you would provide us, you said you would suspend payment. You said your product could do what I was very specific in what you wanted it to do. And the overall handling of the situation has just been so bad from day one. Here's why. If I had engaged with them and said very clearly, here's what I want you to do, and they had said to me, well, that may work, it may not. You may need additional development. Here are the things we know work very well. Here are the other things that can be trickier. I would have gone into it with a different expectation. And so many times attorneys talk about clients having unrealistic expectations, but I really think that that comes from the attorney. I had different expectations because they sold me something that they couldn't deliver on. And that's probably why most of our clients have unrealistic expectations. If we say to them, we're going to be responsive, we can do X, Y, and Z, and then we're not responsive, or we don't do X, Y, and Z, they're going to be angry. And when we turn around and say, well, you have unrealistic expectations, that's our bad. That's our fault. If Grow.com had truly listened to me and communicated the strengths and weaknesses, the pros and cons, the ability of their software and the inability of their software, I would not be upset. I would have decided how I wanted to spend my money. And that's really what customer service comes down to. I would have been happy to pay for a product that delivered. Your clients are happy to pay for a product they expect. But when their expectations are not met because of either time frame or the details, that's when they get upset. And I want to transition to talking about some things that have happened recently in my firm. 2 examples. Several weeks ago, I met with a client and her husband, and they were very upset. They had met with and worked with a former attorney of mine that I had let go. And when I let him go, it was within 2 weeks of their final trial. He had done a lot of work on their case, and it wouldn't make sense for us to continue modern law to pick up where this other attorney had left off. So I recommended to them that they stick with this other attorney through the end of their case. But they felt dumped. They felt lost. They felt like I had let them down because they came to me and they trusted me. And I said, work with this person. He's got better experience on your type of case. He's fully equipped to handle it. That was my promise to them. And they had not experienced that. They thought that it took him about 30% longer to do things than it should have. They gave me lots of examples where they had to give him information more than once. They were heartbroken, they were betrayed, and they felt betrayed, and they felt like they had overpaid. So I could have argued with them. I could have said, you signed a contract. You signed a contract that said you'd pay for our time, regardless of how much time it took. But that is the wrong way to handle an unhappy client. The right way to handle an unhappy client is to listen, to take responsibility for your shortcomings. And there were some. It wasn't that we had done a terrible job, and they weren't saying that. What they were saying was very specifically, Billy, here were the shortcomings. And I understand why you let this attorney go, but here's how that affected us. And I took responsibility for that. And I asked them, what do you think is fair? And they told me, here's what I think is fair. But before I even got there, before I even asked them, what do you think is fair? I truly let them speak their piece, and I affirmed them, because there is nothing worse to a client than feeling like maybe your attorney isn't on your team. Nothing worse. They're coming to you with a problem, a problem so big that they're willing to pay you a very high hourly rate to handle their problem. And they're giving you an enormous amount of trust in their life. So in this case, this was an adult son who was disabled, and the mother was trying to get guardianship away from her ex-husband, who she did not think was taking very good care of her adult disabled son. This is pretty flipping personal. She had taken a long time to decide who she wanted to work with. She wanted to work with me. I said, work with this associate. I took responsibility for him. It is my responsibility as this law firm owner to listen to this client, to acknowledge her pain, and then ask them, what do you think I can do to make this right? And they told me, and what they told me was reasonable. I think that this took 30% longer than it should have. I shouldn't have needed to repeat myself. I said, I agree with you. I wrote them a check. And they left feeling okay about the situation, feeling like they were treated fairly. Like they would come back to me, but they would expect that I would never hand them off again. And it's a massive responsibility when we as law firm owners hand people off to our associates. It's a hard thing. But the most important thing that I did was to truly listen to them. And it doesn't matter what their contract says. The contract is written to describe and to set out expectations. But if expectations aren't met, if we say, yes, we're going to bill you hourly, but we waste our time or we're inefficient, that's not what the client expects. The client expects, if we're going to bill hourly, that we do it, that we still behave in an efficient and effective manner. And I've told them in all sorts of other marketing materials and in conversations that that's what matters to me. So if we failed in that, it doesn't matter what the contract says. The other example that happened in my law firm recently was I met with a gentleman who really needed our help, but he was all over the place. He really had a hard time sticking to a story. He was obviously in distress. He described previously taking medications for various mental health diagnoses. He wasn't taking any currently. He was trying to get treatment. And I really thought that we could help him. And we signed up to take on his case. His case was messy. His life was messy. And we took on his case. And as we started, it was clear that it didn't really matter what we were going to do. He wasn't going to be happy. He wasn't going to be satisfied. We went to an order protection hearing and lost, despite the fact that the case was tried well, that we put on all the evidence, and that we felt like the judge had made a mistake and had ruled in the wrong way. But there was nothing we could do about it. And as we had this conversation over and over and over again, and it was circular, it was clear that we would never be able to satisfy this client. So we're not providing value. It doesn't matter if we're able to eventually get him divorced and get his life settled out. If he doesn't feel taken care of, if he doesn't feel like we're providing value, then we're not providing value. And we had to figure out a way to, as amicably as possible, break up and go our separate ways. Because if you're in one of those situations, you're not doing your client or yourself any favors. You will not be able to provide the services that you want to. You will not be able to satisfy this client. And that's a hard thing because we really wanted to help him. But knowing when customer service requires you to end a relationship is also a really important and really powerful thing. You should not work for a client that does not think you're doing a good job for them. You should either A, figure out how to do a good job for them insofar as they feel you're doing a good job for them, or you should end the relationship. Because our job is to be legal service providers and to provide customer service along with the lawyering that we're doing. If we change the way we think about what our job is, what our role is, and what we're providing to clients, it can help us to really understand the importance of this customer service.